What's up, everybody? This is your boy, Heel Carmichael, and welcome to another installment of Heelverse Podcast. And this topic I'm going to talk about, matter of fact, I want my WrestleMania. Yes, I like this topic, is so dear to my heart because people know me, I'm a big wrestling fan. New Japan, WWE, Triple A, CMLL, AEW, I mean, all the promotions you could think of, including Dramatic Dream Team Pro Wrestling, known as DDT Pro Wrestling. But WrestleMania, it holds dear to my heart. Even though it's not the same like back in the day, but for WrestleMania, it used to be special. It used to mean something. It used to be like the big show that you always look for from the beginning of the show. At the end you walk away with a big smile on your face, and then the next day you could talk about it. The rest of the day you talk about it you talk about WrestleMania with your friends, your colleagues, even your own podcast show. Or back in the day, if you were a kid, just pretty much talk about it during school days. But now it felt different. It felt it felt like a, how can I say it? It felt like it's a, I don't know. It felt like a sponsor show. A it felt like a business. It didn't feel like it is for pro wrestling fans. It felt like it's more a business because back then WrestleMania used to be the granddaddy of sports entertainment because you could always compare it to the Super Bowl, World Series, uh, NBA Finals, hell, even World Cup, because WrestleMania was international. It was globally well known. If you look back from the 80s and the 90s, WrestleMania was everything. It catch the eyes of mainstream outside from pro wrestling. It bring in athletes, celebs, even politicians, because that's how WrestleMania was so big. And you look back in, the 80s, during the MTV era or the rock and roll era, it was pop, it was excitement. You see Mr. T teamed up with Hulk Hogan. You see Andre the Giant, being a battle royale in the early WrestleMania. And when you look at, you know, the 90s, WrestleMania was earned their name. WrestleMania earned the name of the granddaddy of them all. Like, if I could choose which WrestleMania that stand out the most in the '90s, people gonna bring up Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan for the WWE Championship and Intercontinental Championship, the double title main event. People gonna bring up the ladder match at WrestleMania 10 with Shawn Michaels and Rez Ramon for Intercontinental Championship. But two manias that would stand out the most in the '90s was WrestleMania 12 with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart for the Iron Man match, and Steve Austin versus Bret Hart and submission match. Those two matches really stand out in Mania. And when you look back at Mania, back then WrestleMania was packed with so many cards. Like when I say it was packed, all the cards and the build up meant something. Like, look back in the '90s and a little bit in the 2000s. Road to WrestleMania didn't start at Royal Rumble. It probably started before the Royal Rumble, summer, like maybe December, then lead up towards the Royal Rumble, because that's where the road to WrestleMania start. And hell, even the Royal Rumble used to be something special back then until they handpick somebody or it be spoiled by wrestling news. But back then, Royal Rumble was your pathway because you don't know who will win the Royal Rumble to face the champion, the WWE champion back then. And and then when you see the matches, all the cars start building up, to see the rivals start building up, then you know that okay, this WrestleMania gonna be great. Either it's be for the title or just straight up rival, just to end the match. I could think of so many WrestleMania matches I could think of. It had a great build up. I would have to say, let's say the triangle match, the triangle ladder match with the Dudley Boys, Edge, Christian, and the Hardys. That match been built up from the Royal Rumble through No Way Out through WrestleMania because it was a big build up. And that's what people want to see and lead up towards to a triple threat ladder match for the tag team titles. Great build up, and now that the tag team title was the main vocal points. Another great example, The Rock and Steve Austin. That feud be going on from I want to say back from Survivor Series, or pretty much I would say Austin versus the Corporation, but it was building up from Survivor Series or even longer than that until next WrestleMania, and then the main focus was try to get his title back. Uh, another great another great example, Trish Stratus and Mickey James for the WWE Women's Championship. It was a great, interesting feud, and yes, it had that great moment in which I don't think you could find that anywhere else unless you got the DVD for the V moment. If you know, you know. That moment stands out, and all the cards, hold together. And you can go back and watch any WrestleMania before the whole PG shit. All the cards were stacked, and all the matches was amazing. Yeah, you would get at least two or three five-star match. At least one of them be a show stealer, but WrestleMania have a stacked show, and there was no bad show. It was like compare it to Wrestle Kingdom. Like Wrestle Kingdom. When you look at that match, it was stacked, top to bottom. No bad matches, not even once I could think of. I know someone out there said, "Well, there's one bad match and each WrestleMania in Wrestle Kingdom." I mean, yeah, but not all. Like I can bring up, okay, I could bring up three three bad matches I could think of at the top of my head. I could think of the Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez in WrestleMania 9. That match was entertaining. It was it was an okay match during that time. It was an okay match. The match was not exciting, but it is what it is. Then you look at WrestleMania 27 when you got Snooki from the Jersey Shore. It was that it was entertaining, but it wasn't a brilliant five-star match. It was like a cash grab match, or should I say, it was like a showcase match. And then you look at one of the worst match in WrestleMania history. It had great build-up, but the payoff was terrible. However, they did make it up a couple years later in WrestleMania. The match I'm talking about is WrestleMania 20. Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. If I tell you that's one of the worst match I've ever seen in history, it would take the cake. This match definitely take the cake because the build-up was so amazing from Survivor Series through the Royal Rumble through No Way Out, and then you get to WrestleMania 20 at the Madison Square Garden, and then you leave a bad taste in our mouth. Now, WrestleMania 20 is my favorite WrestleMania. I put that at top five, along with WrestleMania 40, 12, 15, um, WrestleMania 25, and give or take, I'll give WrestleMania 21. I feel like that's very underrated, and nobody talks about that. Now, nobody talk about it enough. But Yeah, with that match with Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, it was terrible. I mean, they stalling, they yell at each other. The fans start cheering for Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was a special guest referee. It was bad. It was shitty, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" But they running back a couple years later. It was for the Universal title, Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. It was good. It wasn't a 5-star match. A match you could go back and look at it because Goldberg straight up admits that he don't have it anymore. He can't do a 5-minute match. And speaking of titles, I remember all the titles was important. Like when you mentioned WrestleMania, every single championship title was on the line. From the WWF title, the World Heavyweight Championship, Intercontinental Championship, US, European, Light Heavyweight, Cruiserweight. I mean, all the titles was important back then. But now as WrestleMania move forward, you don't see all the titles be on the line. Like I could remember the last time the tag team title was on the line. The the United States title be on the line. Is on the line, but now they didn't put on the card. The Intercontinental Championship been there. It used to be the focus point, but it's almost fade back until Gunther brought that title back, and now we see the title being put on the line here and there. And by the time you see this video, the title will be on the line for upcoming WrestleMania. And I remember the World Championship was the main event, not as a co-main event. And I remember they started doing that in WrestleMania 27, WrestleMania 27, when they have the World Heavyweight Championship being an opener. To me being a belt collector, that's disrespectful. You know, I feel like the World Heavyweight Championship should have been like either middle of the show to give them like a breather or a co-main event. To me, for me personally, I would have that time being like a co-main event. Just make the WrestleMania felt special. But now we got this night one, night two. Now both world titles being a main event. But I know last year WrestleMania Vegas, it was a shockingly it was an opener for night one, in which that's a foul shit they did. Once again, that was a foul shit. But but I feel like the title should have been important back then, and now it's like it is what it is. Unfortunately, the title you don't see it all the time be put on the line. And now today, it felt like it don't feel like Granddaddy of them all. If I want to be real, I felt like it felt like the stepdad of sports entertainment. It really is like there's so many big shows that outdid WrestleMania. Like Wrestle Kingdom outdid WrestleMania. AEW recent pay-per-view Revolution, and now upcoming pay-per-view Dynasty, it'll outshine WrestleMania unless WrestleMania step the game up. And there's so many big shows, or even, hell, even indies, either indies or other shows will outdo WrestleMania every single year because WrestleMania is getting lazy. I feel like, and I feel like WrestleMania is not what it used to be. Like back in 2010, that's where WrestleMania started falling off during the PG era. When you look back at the PG era, it didn't hit the same like WrestleMania 26, I believe. That's where the first Mania in a PG era. You notice the difference. It doesn't feel the same. Like, yeah, we got Batista against John Cena, but it doesn't feel like a granddaddy. It didn't feel like a big event. It felt like a stepdad. You see, and either you give him respect or you just like, meh. And that's how I feel like it. And then you fast forward. Now Armenia was great. Like from WrestleMania 26, 27, 28, I think 28 and 29 they have like the life once in a lifetime match for the Rock and Cena match. Great build up, but the Rock wins, defeat John Cena. okay, it is what it is. And then they bring it back for a rematch. Then the CM Punk and the Undertaker match, it was good. And then WrestleMania 30. When I tell you, when the Undertaker lose and have Brock Lesnar beat the streak, at that moment, I say to myself, WrestleMania is dead because you could see the crowd gasp, and there was a report that people got up and left. But thank God that Bryan Danielson saved WrestleMania and become the WWE Heavyweight Champion. That's the only thing that saved WrestleMania. In which, in all the history of Mania, it doesn't take for one match to save Mania. It would have to be the whole entire card to have a great WrestleMania moment or great WrestleMania event. But that WrestleMania 30, I would never forget. That was straight up ass. And then speaking of a mania, I will never forget. It's the Forgotten Mania. When I say Forgotten Mania, I'm talking about the Pandemic Mania that was supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen. The WrestleMania was supposed to happen in Tampa Bay, but once the COVID hit, it was it was different because it had to take place in the Performance Center. When I tell you, it was very unreal because I would never thought in my lifetime, not only as a person but a wrestling fan, to see a WrestleMania in an empty arena. I mean, the only time we see a match take place in an empty arena was a halftime heat when The Rock and Mankind, or an empty arena match in TNA, or even back in the day. But WrestleMania in Performance Center, where rookies and upcoming NXT stars perform their matches or perform their talent, and it was very unreal. It's very different. But the only thing good come out of it was Bray Wyatt versus John Cena, the Firefly Funhouse match, and the Undertaker versus AJ Styles in the Boneyard match. Those two matches was very entertaining. It was very cinematic, and those two matches stands out. Some people get, some people didn't, but I feel like those two matches was those matches you would never forget. I feel like that Mania haven't been brought up because it was surreal. But if we were talking about forgotten Mania to Mania you remember, I would say the best Mania I could look back to is from WrestleMania 12, WrestleMania 13, 15, 20, 22, uh, 25, and even WrestleMania 40. Now, people think, oh, you skip on WrestleMania 17. Yeah, WrestleMania 17, it was, I would say it was good, but it doesn't hit the same like WrestleMania 15. You know what I'm saying? And now you look back, that was, well, 2002 was the last Mania for the Attitude Era. Or no, I take it back. 2001 was the last Mania for the Attitude Era because we was going to the Ruthless Aggression era of 2002 with WrestleMania 18. That's another forgotten Mania. People don't talk about enough as WrestleMania 18. Great pay per view, but nobody talk about it as much. Um, and my final piece, I hope this WrestleMania will be good. I hope they bring him back as a granddaddy of them all once again. And I hope my WrestleMania will be dope. And that's how I feel about it. And just looking back at WrestleMania, it brought back so much great moments and great childhood. And I just hope Mania will be dope once again. Well, that's the show. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, share a comment. Please support the show. I'm your boy Heel, and it's another episode of Heelverse Podcast. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.